A lot of people are very angry. A lot of people are very sad, upset, confused. From what we've been told, VSC isn't in any immediate financial danger or financial crisis. It seems questionable whether we should pursue additional expenses if it's at the price of selling our broadcast frequency at such a detriment to the student interests.
Well, I'd summarize the deal as a good one financially, in that it creates this endowment for Vanderbilt student media into the future. But the part that really excites us beyond that, I mean, I don't want to undersell the financial security. That's an important thing. It will allow us to innovate in the future. But also the internships with WPLN we're really excited about, to give students a chance to really participate in a professional radio station. I think will really increase the educational opportunities for WRVU students and, well, for any Vanderbilt student who's interested in this. So we're really happy about that. And frankly, we're also happy it's NPR because, you know, we know there's a certain kind of loss here in that WRVU will not be available in the FM band anymore. We are going to make it available, obviously, as you know, in the HD band. But the idea that there will still be a gain to partly offset that loss for the Nashville community more generally is important to us. You know, this is something I said to Victor Clark, who the then station manager. I said, we have no intention of selling the station over the summer when students are away. I think I may even refer to it as pulling a Rice or something, which is what Rice did. And in fact, we didn't make the decision to sell over the summer when the students are away. We had our last board meeting Wednesday, April 27th, and it was at that point that the full board met face to face to discuss the letter of intent we had from NPR and voted 7-0 with one abstention in favor of doing this.
Well, in the very beginning, when the sale was first announced, Mark Walliger, I remember, made comments saying that at least we didn't do the Rice thing and sell the station over the summer and hope people don't get angry. And technically the vote was made, from what I was told, on April 27th, which was right before exams, and that's basically, it's almost the same thing as selling over the summer.
We thought it would happen sooner because we went into discussions with NPR in April. I'm not sure when in April, early in April. And I had no idea how long this would take. It turns out that a deal of this size is really complicated, so it just dragged on. And at a certain point, you just can't pull out of them. You also can't make public that you're in these discussions because any big deal like this has a confidentiality clause. We're not allowed to talk about negotiations while they're going on or about the details of them after the fact. And so we couldn't talk about it while it's happening, but in fact it was being talked about while students were all here, and I thought it would take place while the students were still here, and that's not the way it played out. Perhaps some naivete on our part about how complicated this kind of negotiation is, but that's what happened.
I remember I met with Mark Walliger to ask him about whether any decisions had been made about the sale, and he said no. At that time I was under the impression that they hadn't had their last meeting. It was their last scheduled meeting, the VSC board. And in fact, it was later that day that Mark Walliger called a meeting and made the decision to sell the station. So I believe that was kind of underhanded. It was just really a shame that we found out about this the way we did, that we weren't really given any notice. None of our DJs were able to have a last show and say their farewell to their listeners, and you know, try to really go out with a bang, I guess. Go out on a high note.
Angry, frustrated people and open mics over the airwaves is a volatile, dangerous mixture. And so radio stations universally make a switchover of this kind, which seems brutal, but the danger of having people who are just getting news and are angry about it on the air, broadcasting to the world, is a real one, and it's unfortunate. I honestly was hoping that as a university we could find a way to do it differently, and perhaps but we couldn't figure out how to do it any differently. And so this is what makes, I know a lot of people feel disrespected in the process, and I'm sorry about that. I understand it, but we really didn't see any other way to do this.
We normally swipe our cards to get into the station, but after my meeting with Walger right before the announcement, when I went back to pick up my things that I left in the office, they had already changed the access codes. Our ability to edit the automation is probably going to be the most influence we'll be able to have over the summer.
Well, we went on automation for the summer. In part, we want to renovate the studio, upgrade equipment over the summer, and just not have any broadcasters there. That's not going to take the entire summer, and so that's not the only reason. We also just thought probably it would be a good idea to have just a waiting period for everyone to sort of regroup, accept the new situation before they're back on the air broadcasting. Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We're going to promote the relaunch of the signal on HD in the fall to make it a real event. We're going to have giveaways of HD radios. We haven't planned that independently of WRVU because we want WRVU staff to plan what they want to do, the station manager, Robert, and others. But we will financially support whatever they want to do to promote this. We're committed to making this work and realize it will take some effort on our part, not just financial, but also getting the message out there, what people need to do to continue receiving the signal.
I feel like it'll be a bit of a hard sell for some people to convince them to DJ for an HD signal, because there will very likely be less people tuning into that. Very few people have HD receivers right now.
It was thought that HD radio would be the next big thing. It clearly is not. The reason we think it'll work for WRVU is that WRVU has a kind of niche listenership, meaning that there are people who step in to listen to particular shows they love, really popular shows. Most people don't listen to WRVU continuously because it's so eclectic, but there are people deeply committed to particular shows, great shows they really like, and those people, I think, you know, if you think of it, well, I could donate $100 to WRVU, or I could buy an HD radio that allows me to listen to it whenever I want in the house. I'm hoping people will do that.
A survey I saw from a few years back asked, would you consider buying an HD receiver in the next 2 months? Only 1% said yes.
Well, it was interesting and important, and we looked through all of that stuff. A number of things were interesting about it. I mean, most people, frankly, the great majority were not really helpful. It was more just, I like WRVU, don't change it. And that's worth hearing, but they weren't actually offering constructive alternatives. Have you tried this? Have you tried that? It was partly, there were some people doing that, and we did follow out every possibility. What was interesting was that there were very few Vanderbilt undergraduates who replied at all. I think it was, I don't know. It was out of over 600, it was probably 10 to 15 undergraduates weighing in.
It seems like they basically ignored the nearly 2,000 undergraduate student signatures that we gathered in a petition opposed to the sale, which we presented to them just a week before.
We did surveys prior to exploring a sale about how many students actually listen to the radio station over the air, and it was a tiny number. And this is also true nationally, that young people tend not to listen to the radio the way they used to, certainly the way I did. They tend to listen through their phones and online. And so we had good reason and have good reason to believe that it will not disrupt most undergraduate listening habits to switch over to online only, since most people were listening that way anyway.
We want to make WRVU the best it can possibly be, whatever media we're going to be broadcasting through.